Asahi is a walking L, a basement-dwelling goblin who spends his days drowning in wet dreams and worshipping on-life-in's mommy milkers like they're holy relics. But in the real world, this dumb mess can't even make eye contact with a girl without sweating. The only thing he talks to without stuttering is his humanoid robot, who also happens to be the only one dealing with his crusty pajamas after his nightly sessions. A boy named Asahi Kashiwagi finds himself in a strange dream, standing beside a mysterious girl with long black hair. She tries to say something, but her words are unclear. Before he can understand, she runs off. Kashiwagi chases after her, but everything fades as his alarm clock goes off. Annoyed by the sudden disappearance, but he can't do much, Kashiwagi wakes up in his room. A robotic rabbit named Loverin nags him to hurry up. Loverin manages the house and handles a lot of tasks for him. After preparing breakfast, Kashiwagi heads downstairs to eat while watching the news. A segment called Divination comes on, where an artificial intelligence named Etoile predicts the future. It announces that people born on October 8th will have good luck and exciting encounters today. Kashiwagi feels good since that's his birthday. Etoile also lists lucky words including corner, train, staircase, cleaning, robot, dog, and letter. But there are too many for him to remember. After finishing breakfast, Kashiwagi rushes out worried about being late. Meanwhile, a girl with glasses and dark hair is also running to the train station. They accidentally crash into each other. She quickly apologizes before realizing she's late and dashing off again. Kashiwagi notices she dropped a handkerchief and picks it up. Reaching the station just in time, Kashiwagi boards a strangely empty train. He shuts his eyes for a moment to rest. A green-haired girl sits beside him and slowly dozes off, leaning against him. When the train suddenly shakes, he loses balance and accidentally touches her chest. She jolts awake, panics, and pushes him away. Embarrassed, Kashiwagi stumbles off the train in a hurry. Near a flight of stairs, he recalls Etoile's lucky words and wonders if the predictions were real. Just then, a blonde schoolgirl trips and crashes into him. She lands in an awkward position, glances at his pants, jumps to the wrong conclusion, freaks out, punches him, and runs off, leaving him in pain. Trying to avoid a cleaning robot, Kashiwagi remembers that Robot was also on the lucky list. The robot suddenly collides with him while carrying an undergarment with a clothespin. The undergarment lands in Kashiwagi's hands. At that moment, a red-haired girl storms over, looking furious. She assumes Kashiwagi is some kind of pervert who hacked the robot to steal clothes. Before he can explain, the robot grabs her by her clothes and drags her away. Still baffled by everything, Kashiwagi keeps walking when a small dog appears. The dog runs to its owner, who's struggling with a much larger dog acting in a very inappropriate way. Kashiwagi tries to ignore it, but the owner desperately begs for help. Unfortunately, the big dog locks onto Kashiwagi instead and starts chasing him. He runs for his life but ends up getting caught in the mess. Somehow, he escapes, but by the time he reaches school, he's late. He sneaks into the classroom, trying not to attract attention. Finally, sitting at his desk, he feels safe. But then, he notices several new students in class. Looking closer, he realizes they are all the girls he ran into earlier. The green-haired girl from the train is actually the teacher by Monfa. The other girls, Amelia Irving, Karen Istel, Ilya Ilyukin, and Aoi Asumizawa, are all classmates. Kashiwagi tries to stay unnoticed, but when Monfa addresses him, he responds without thinking. The moment the girls recognize him, they gang up on him. Later in the locker room, Kashiwagi vents to his friend Yoshio. Yoshio is jealous of all the encounters Kashiwagi had that morning, but Kashiwagi just wants a normal day. Opening his locker, Kashiwagi finds a threatening note inside. Someone wants to meet him after class. He doesn't care and ignores it. While walking in the hallway, he almost bumps into Isubizawa again. Remembering the handkerchief, he tries to return it, but accidentally hands over the undergarment from earlier instead. She immediately punches him and storms off. During lunch, Kashiwagi sees Karen struggling to get food. Feeling bad, he hands her a banana. She takes it without thinking and eats it. In that moment, she realizes she misunderstood everything before. Kashiwagi heads to a vending machine for a drink, but before he can buy one, the big dog from earlier shows up again, this time chasing Alia. In the chaos, Kashiwagi tries to help, but just ends up getting hurt. Later, Monfa finds Kashiwagi nursing an injury. She takes him to the infirmary for treatment. While he's there, Amelia walks in. Once Monfa leaves, Amelia asks for her undergarment back. Kashiwagi returns it, and she finally realizes everything was just a huge misunderstanding. She apologizes for accusing him. At the end of the school day, Kashiwagi remembers the note. He wasn't interested at first, but decides to check the meeting spot anyway. The note leads him to a cherry tree after class. When he arrives, a girl is already waiting. It's Asumizawa. Without hesitation, she suddenly confesses her love to him. Kashiwagi and Asumizawa continue talking under the cherry tree. She explains her feelings, but Kashiwagi is unsure. He remembers that she was not wearing underwear before, and this makes him suspicious. Asumizawa, feeling embarrassed, nervously tries to explain the misunderstanding, but she becomes too flustered and runs away, afraid of what Kashiwagi might think about her. Later, Kashiwagi is walking through the academy when he meets Alia. She suddenly imitates a dog, scaring him. Then, to his surprise, she confesses her love for him. She says she is very grateful because he saved her from the big big dog earlier. But before Kashiwagi can react, his teacher Monfa appears. She quickly grabs Kashiwagi and drags him away. Kashiwagi and Monfa end up hiding in a narrow alley. To avoid some men who are chasing her, they pretend to be doing adult things. Monfa explains that the men were sent by someone who was trying to make her fall in love with him. They always follow her, and she is tired of it. Then Monfa also confesses her love to Kashiwagi. She asks him if he likes her. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, Kashiwagi panics and runs away. Shortly after, Kashiwagi is walking near a bridge when he suddenly hears someone calling him from above. He looks up and sees Karen standing on top of the bridge. Before he can react, she jumps off the bridge and lands on him. She is wearing a wedding dress. Kashiwagi is confused and asks if the dress is for an advertisement since Karen's a famous model. However, she denies it and says she is on her way to her wedding. Karen then confesses her love to Kashiwagi and leads him to a love hotel. Kashiwagi is shocked and very uncomfortable. He does not want to go inside. After some quick thinking, he tricks Karen and manages to escape. Later, Kashiwagi goes to a park and meets a girl there. She asks him to sign some papers. Without thinking, he almost signs them, but then he realizes something strange. These are actually marriage papers. Before he can react, Amelia appears, taking off a disguise. She was trying to trick him into marrying her. Frustrated, Kashiwagi ignores her and leaves the park. Kashiwagi walks home, feeling confused, upset, and tired. He just wants to rest. However, when he opens the door to his house, he is shocked. All the girls are inside waiting for him. They greet him happily, calling him darling. At that moment, Kashiwagi receives a message from his father. His father tells him that he has selected these girls as possible wives for him. Lover then explains that Kashiwagi can choose one of them or he can choose none at all. She also tells him not to judge based on gender, clearly referring to Amelia. Until Kashiwagi makes his decision, all the girls will live in the same house with him. Suddenly, the girls start flirting with him. They compete to make him happy by offering massages, food, and even a bath. But Kashiwagi is overwhelmed and rejects all their offers. He is angry that his father made such a big decision without asking him. He wants them to leave. Kashiwagi tries to find an excuse to kick them out. He tells them that there aren't enough rooms for everyone. But then he realizes something shocking. While he was away, his house was completely renovated. It now has many more rooms. Seeing that he has no way to make them leave, he gives up. The girls will stay. That evening, the girls prepare dinner. They try to impress Kashiwagi by feeding him and treating him like their husband, but Kashiwagi feels stressed and uncomfortable. After dinner, Kashiwagi decides to take a bath to relax. However, the girls do not leave him alone. Karen tries to get into the bathtub with him. He struggles to kick her out, but as soon as she leaves, Amelia appears. She had been hiding under the water, spying on him. At this point, Kashiwagi has had enough. He is completely exhausted by the girls' behavior. He decides to leave the house. He just wants some peace and quiet. As he walks outside, Asumisawa finds him. She talks to him about the girls' feelings. She tells him that none of them knew much about their special person before today. They only knew his name. They had imagined what he might be like and were excited to meet him. Then she apologizes and says they did not mean to make Kashiwagi uncomfortable. If he wants, they will all leave. However, she does not want to leave him all alone. She says they will stay only if they behave better. Hearing this, Kashiwagi finally calms down. He agrees that they can stay, but only if they stop acting strangely. Seeing his smile, Asumisawa suddenly remembers a moment from past. She starts crying and thanks Kashiwagi. Together, they return home and meet the others. Kashiwagi finally tells them they can stay, but they must respect his space. The girls are very happy and excited, and so Kashiwagi and the girls begin their new life together in the same house. Kashiwagi wakes up to the sound of his alarm, but something feels off. As he opens his eyes, he realizes he is not alone. One of the girls is in his bed, and Amelia is sitting beside him, holding his foot. Kashiwagi immediately sits up, completely shocked. His face turns red with anger as he yells at Amelia, demanding to know what she is doing. Amelia, caught off guard, quickly moves away, looking a little guilty but also amused by his reaction. Later, while everyone is having breakfast, Kashiwagi complains to Asumisawa about what has been happening. He tells her about Amelia's actions and how the others are constantly crossing the line. Asumisawa, however, defends them, saying that they act this way because they love him so much. Kashiwagi is not convinced and sighs in frustration. She looks exhausted, and Kashiwagi wonders why she seems so tired. Corinne mentions that she has been working hard at night. However, before the conversation can continue, Monfa suddenly appears, looking around in a hurry. She is searching for her missing tablet. Kashiwagi hands it to her, and Monfa happily thanks him before leaving. A few moments later, Amelia tries to decorate Kashiwagi's breakfast. She ends up messing everything up, filling his plate with too much ketchup. Kashiwagi sighs but decides not to say anything. Once in class, Amelia remains frustrated about what happened at breakfast. She barely pays attention to the lesson and seems lost in thought. Later, the teacher asks Karen to come to the board to do some kanji exercises. Karen confidently writes her answers, impressing everyone with her perfect writing skills. Amelia, feeling competitive, suddenly becomes motivated and asks to solve the next problem. However, when she writes on the board, she ends up making a mistake, writing something completely strange. The entire class looks at her in confusion, and Amelia turns bright red with embarrassment. During lunch, Kashiwagi sits with his friend Yoshio. As they eat, Yoshio starts talking about Amelia. He tells Kashiwagi that he thinks Amelia is very very pretty and that he admires how she never gives up. Kashiwagi, however, doesn't see it that way. He believes that Amelia simply doesn't know how to lose and tells Yoshio that she is overly competitive. After dinner, Kashiwagi notices that Amelia is missing. He asks Ilia where she is, and Ilia tells him that Amelia went to her room right after dinner. Kashiwagi decides to check on her, but as he gets closer to her room, he hears strange noises. The sounds are similar to moans, and he immediately becomes nervous. His mind fills with all sorts of embarrassing thoughts, and he wonders what Amelia could possibly be doing. Finally, unable to take it anymore, he suddenly opens the door, only to find Amelia sitting at her desk practicing kanji. Kashiwagi lets out a relieved sigh, but also feels a little embarrassed for jumping to conclusions. Amelia, still unaware of his thoughts, continues practicing. Seeing how much she is struggling, Kashiwagi decides to help her. The next day, they meet in the library to study together. Kashiwagi is surprised to see that Amelia is struggling even with simple kanji. He patiently teaches her, but it is clear that she has a long way to go. That night, Kashiwagi locks himself in his room to study alone, but his mind keeps drifting to Amelia. He is worried about her since she has been pushing herself too hard. The next morning, he notices that Amelia is still studying without taking breaks. He decides to talk to her and tells her that she should stop obsessing over kanji. However, Amelia suddenly starts crying. She tells him that she is not doing this just for an exam. She is learning kanji so she can properly communicate in his language. Hearing this, Kashiwagi is taken aback. He had never thought about it from her perspective before. Amelia, feeling embarrassed, runs out of the library, leaving Kashiwagi standing there in silence. Later that night, she locks herself in her room without eating dinner. Kashiwagi, feeling guilty, goes to check on her. He knocks on her door and tells her that she's not stupid. He tells her that he really appreciates the effort she is making, and he finds it interesting to watch her work so hard. Amelia looks at him, her eyes still filled with tears. At that moment, a memory flashes in her mind, one from when she was younger. She remembers something about Kashiwagi, but she quickly shakes the thought away, feeling embarrassed. Kashiwagi, seeing her reaction, laughs. To cheer her up, he gives her a special study tool to help her memorize kanji better. Amelia's eyes light up with happiness as she hugs the gift, thanking him sincerely. Amelia has written kanji everywhere, practicing as much as she can. It seems that she has finally gained confidence in her studies. Later that day, they all head to the school for the exam. Kashiwagi watches as Amelia confidently answers the questions. A few days later, Amelia receives her exam results. She holds the paper in her hands, nervous about what it might say. Finally, she opens it and sees that she has passed with a very good grade. Later, during lunch, Kashiwagi sits with Yoshio again. As he opens his lunchbox, he is surprised to see that it was made by Amelia. One day, we come to know about Ilia's past. Her father wanted a son and decided to name her Ilia. Because of this, Ilia was raised as a boy and told to live like one. As she remembers these things, she is suddenly surprised by Kashiwagi, who accidentally walks in on her in the bathroom of an inn. Kashiwagi quickly assumes she needs privacy because she is doing something personal, so he immediately shuts the door and leaves. The story then shows how everyone arrived at this place. They had won a prize at a shopping mall. The girls had been walking around the mall when they saw that the first prize was a vacation at a hot spring. Ilia decided to try her luck, and to everyone's surprise, she won first place. Because of this, all the girls and Kashiwagi came together to stay at the inn. However, when they first arrive, they are disappointed. The place does not look as nice as they expected. The building is old and the atmosphere feels strange. As they stand there, unsure what to say, a very tall and old lady greets them. She notices their reactions and asks if there is a problem, but the group pretends that everything is fine. The lady then asks how they want to divide the rooms. Kashiwagi quickly decides that the rooms should be divided by gender, so he ends up sharing a room with Ilia. The other girls are not happy about this. They complain that Ilia gets to share a room with Kashiwagi just because she is a boy. However, Ilia herself is also uncomfortable with this arrangement. She tries to convince Kashiwagi to stay with the others, but he does not see a problem with it. To tease her, he slaps her on the back like a joke between friends. Ilia turns red and panics. Later, Amelia and Corinne appear and invite them to play ping pong. The girls face each other in a match. Karen does not waste the opportunity to tease Monfa for being older, but Monfa quickly fights back. The game becomes intense and Monfa hits the ball too hard. It bounces around the room, causing a mess. In the process, the ball accidentally hits Kashiwagi in a very painful spot and he falls to the ground in pain. Amelia tries to get Kashiwagi to eat from her plate, but he refuses. Meanwhile, the old lady at the inn offers to serve them a dish called tengu. She tells them an old legend about how one of her ancestors was a spirit called Tengu. Because of this, the inn is decorated with many masks and other items related to the Teng spirit. After dinner, the group decides to go to the hot springs. Kashiwagi and Ilia go to change together. Ilia becomes very nervous because she's afraid that her secret will be discovered. Kashiwagi once again jokingly slaps her on the back and tells her not to worry. Ilia, in a panic, takes a Tengu mask and places it between her legs under a towel to make it look like she has something there. When Ilia steps out of the locker room, Kashiwagi notices the huge thing under her towel. His eyes widen in shock. He starts to compare their sizes in his mind and becomes self-conscious. Once they get into the water, he keeps glancing at Ilia's lower body. Feeling awkward, he asks her why she is covering her chest as well. Ilia quickly makes an excuse, saying that she is embarrassed because she has a lot of chest hair. Kashiwagi offers to rub her back. As he does so, he notices that Ilia's body does not feel like like a boy's. Ilya, realizing this, quickly switches places and starts rubbing Kashiwagi's back instead, trying to act normal. She suggests they do something else to strengthen their bond as brothers. Kashiwagi agrees and they decide to enter the sauna together. However, Ilya struggles with the heat. She starts feeling dizzy and weak but refuses to give up. If she collapses, Kashiwagi might discover her secret. Kashiwagi, meanwhile, is impressed by her determination. He stands up and calls Ilya a great man, praising her for her toughness. Without thinking, he runs outside and jumps into the water to cool off. As Ilya follows him outside, a strong wind blows away her towel. Kashiwagi turns around just as this happens, but before he can see anything, Ilya quickly covers herself. Meanwhile, the other girls, who are on the opposite side of the hot springs, hear the commotion and look over to see what is happening. At that moment, Ilya grabs a Tengu mask and puts it on her face. When Kashiwagi turns back, he sees her wearing the mask and panics. His face turns pale, and he starts screaming that he has seen the real Tengu from the legend. Without thinking, he runs back into the hot spring terrified. Ilya, realizing what she has done, quickly puts her towel back on and pretends that nothing happened. Just as she thinks she is safe, she steps on a bar of soap on the floor. She slips and falls hard, hitting her head. The impact knocks her unconscious. Sometime later, Ilya slowly wakes up. She feels a throbbing pain in her head. As she regains full consciousness, she looks up to see Kashiwagi staring at her. She immediately apologizes, feeling embarrassed. Kashiwagi also apologizes, saying that he never realized she was a girl. He admits that he behaved strangely because he truly believed she was a boy. Ilya then explains her story to him. She tells him that her father always wanted a son, and it was his last wish that she live as one. Kashiwagi listens carefully before asking her an important question. What does she really want? Does she want to be a girl or a boy? Hearing this, Ilya starts to cry. Through her tears, she confesses that she has always wanted to live as a real girl. Kashiwagi smiles at her and tells her that she should live however she wants. He reassures her that even her father would have understood. The memory makes her feel emotional, but she quickly shakes it off. She then jokes that it still feels weird to be the only boy in the house. Kashiwagi laughs and says goodnight. The next morning, they join the others for breakfast. Before leaving the inn, they tell the old lady that they have seen the real Tengu. Kashiwagi, still believing in what he saw, tells the story with excitement. The lady listens with amusement while Ilya, who knows the truth, turns bright red with embarrassment. She stays silent, too ashamed to say anything about what really happened. The next morning, Ilya arrives at the academy in a female uniform. She is finally living as a girl and introduces herself with a new name, Irina. Kashiwagi explains this to his friend Yoshio. Just then, Monfa appears and tells them that class is about to start, with a woman like Monfa instead of a young girl like her. However, Yoshio completely ignores Karin, making her even more annoyed. That night, Monfa drinks at home and gets drunk. The girls remind her that she should behave like an adult, and she laughs, saying that she understands. At one point, Irina notices that man immediately grabs him, and before Kashiwagi can react, he loses consciousness. When Kashiwagi wakes up, he finds himself in a strange room. He is tied to a bed, and the man alert that an intruder has entered the area. He leaves to handle the situation. As soon as he is gone, Monfa appears and untees Kashiwagi. However, before freeing him completely, she takes a few pictures of him because he looks cute tied up. Kashiwagi is not amused. Monfa then gives him some strange adult toys as weapons for self-defense. Kashiwagi hesitates, but she insists that they might be useful. As they leave the room, they see several guards lying unconscious on the floor. Monfa claims that they were already knocked out when she arrived. Suddenly, more guards appear, and the two of them are forced to fight. Monfa easily defeats one with a powerful kick, while Kashiwagi helps by delivering the final blow. They continue their escape but reach an elevator. The stairs are blocked due to a power outage. Monfa finds a map and locates the control room where they can restore electricity. She decides that the fastest way to get there is by jumping out of a window. Without giving Kashiwagi time to protest, she ties ropes around them and they swing down to a lower floor. Together, they break a window and enter the room. Monfa quickly restores power, but just as she finishes, a hidden trapdoor opens. Monfa acts confused, pretending not to know who that is, but Thunder laughs. He calls her one of the most feared people. The Colonel then reveals to Kashiwagi that Monfa is actually a powerful agent who once eliminated many people and destroyed his entire team. He tells Monfa that he is here to get revenge. The Monfa is knocked back. Seeing this, Thunder turns to Kashiwagi, wanting to hurt the person Monfa cares about most. However, Monfa quickly recovers and blocks his path. Thunder grabs Monfa and lifts her by one leg, preparing to finish her. Kashiwagi and Monfa take this chance to escape. As they wait in the elevator, Monfa notices that Kashiwagi's hand is injured. She rips part of her dress and uses it to bandage his wound. She then apologizes for putting him in danger. Monfa explains that she was born into a life of fighting, but at one point she questioned what she was doing. That is why she left her past behind and became a teacher to find happiness and meaning in life. When the elevator reaches the next floor, they find it filled with guards. Monfa does not hesitate. She charges at them and defeats them all in an instant. Kashiwagi is amazed by her strength. Monfa tells Kashiwagi that the emergency exit is close, but there will be more enemies ahead. Kashiwagi Kashiwagi hesitates but has no choice but to follow her orders. As he runs, he suddenly hears a gunshot. Worried that something has happened to Monfa, he turns around. Monfa drops her weapon and starts to cry. Just then, Colonel Thunder appears again, this time with a robotic body, stronger than before. Using his mechanical arm, Thunder grabs Monfa by the neck and slams her against a wall. As he prepares to finish her off, a fire extinguisher suddenly hits his arm. Kashiwagi has returned, armed and ready to fight. Thunder goes and throws lotion on Thunder. The slippery substance makes Thunder lose his grip. Seizing the moment, Kashiwagi electrocutes him with a weapon. He then turns to Monfa and tells her to finish the fight. With a single powerful attack, one day Kashiwagi visits a store to buy some magazines. As he looks around, a robot suddenly appears above him. It scans his body and finds his private parts. Just as the robot prepares to attack, a magical girl appears and destroys it with a powerful magical attack. She then disappears into the sky, leaving Kashiwagi confused but safe. The next morning, Kashiwagi tells Yoshino about the magical girl he saw. Yoshino laughs and mocks him, thinking he is joking. Suddenly, Karen boldly asks Kashiwagi to have a physical relationship. Kashiwagi immediately refuses. After seeing Kashiwagi with Monfa the previous day, Karen has been feeling uneasy about how close he gets to other girls. However, before she can say anything, something shocking happens. Looking out the window, she sees a massive robot floating in the sky above the academy. Yoshino shows Kashiwagi the news. Reports reveal that these strange machines are called castrating robots that have appeared all over the world. They seem to be of extraterrestrial origin. Monfa warns Kashiwagi to stay away from the window. But at that moment, a smaller robot suddenly appears and attacks Kashiwagi and Yoshino. Monfa manages to save Kashiwagi just in time, but Yoshino is not so lucky. The robot places a pink bomb around his private parts. Moments later, the bomb beeps and explodes. Yoshino falls to the ground, left completely without his parts. Meanwhile, the others realize that Karen has disappeared. Kashiwagi goes to search for her. Soon, we see Karen transforming into a magical girl. She prepares to fight against the robots. However, Kashiwagi quickly recognizes her. Embarrassed that he has seen her secret, Karen turns red. At that moment, a strange magical pet appears. It is a small, odd-looking rabbit named Sod. Karen tries to change the subject by suddenly asking Kashiwagi to touch her chest. Kashiwagi, flustered, refuses. However, she insists, saying that it will help her gain power. Hesitantly, Kashiwagi touches her chest. She immediately feels a surge of energy and says that Kashiwagi's touch is filling her with power. Using this new strength, Karen flies toward the giant robot and attacks it with a magic ray from her staff. However, her attack does nothing. The robot is too strong. Karen quickly loses energy and is forced to retreat. She falls from the sky, but Kashiwagi catches her just in time. Her magical transformation fades, and they decide to hide. Karen explains how she became a magical girl. During a photo shoot, Sod fell from the sky and begged her to form a contract to become a magical girl. She accepted without hesitation. Moreover, she also tells him that she is always tired because she fights as a magical girl at night. Karen also explains that the robots are called ball takers. Their mission is to place bombs on men and remove their private parts. To defeat them, they must destroy the main unit before its counter reaches 69. If they fail, all the bombs will explode at once. Sod reveals that Karen can gain more power by gathering energy of dreams. However, he does not explain what that means. Meanwhile, news reports show that all attempts to stop the robots have failed. Even the army is powerless. With the school in chaos, Karen and Kashiwagi enter a special unit where they can charge her energy mirror. Sod tells them that for this to work, Karen's heart must beat faster. Inside the unit, they find a room with a sofa and a meter to measure her magic power. Suddenly, Karen starts unbuttoning her clothes. Kashiwagi panics and tells her to stop. She insists that they need to do something intimate to charge her power. Kashiwagi refuses and asks how she has been charging her power before this. Blushing, Karen admits that she gained energy by secretly watching him while he took showers. Kashiwagi is speechless. Desperate to find another way, Kashiwagi tries a different approach. He stands close to Karen, presses her against the wall, and leans in as if he is going to kiss her. However, the meter does not go up. Frustrated, Kashiwagi accuses Karen of not truly being in love with him. Angry, Karen snaps and shouts that for her, love means wanting to be with him in that way. She then undresses and tackles him onto the sofa. Just as she is about to do something, they hear voices outside. The other girls are investigating the strange truck they are hiding in. Kashiwagi tries to call out to them, but Karen covers his mouth and hides him behind the sofa. The girls leave after a while, but Karen immediately tries to provoke Kashiwagi again. Sod, thinking that they have finally done what was needed, teleports into the truck, only to find them arguing. Kashiwagi lightly taps Karen on the head and scolds her. He tells her that she should not rush into things just because of the crisis. Kashiwagi then confesses that all the girls, including Karen, are important to him. He wants her first time to be special and not something forced by the situation. Hearing this, Karen's energy meter suddenly starts filling up quickly. Sod, surprised, tells them to finish quickly. However, Kashiwagi gets annoyed at the rabbit and demands that he respect Karen's feelings. The meter fills up even more. At that moment, robots discover the truck. Kashiwagi tells Sod to teleport Karen to safety while he distracts the enemies. He runs outside to draw their attention. Seeing this, Karen suddenly realizes just how much she loves him. Her energy meter reaches maximum power. As Kashiwagi is cornered against a tree by the robots, Karen suddenly transforms again. That massive explosion of energy, she becomes the legendary magical girl. She destroys the enemy robots one by one. Then she flies to the top of the academy and begins charging her most powerful attack. The giant robot prepares to do the same. The two attacks collide in mid-air, creating a massive shockwave. Karen struggles to hold her attack, and the robot's counter is about to reach 69. Seeing her in trouble, Kashiwagi grabs her and supports her. With Kashiwagi's help, Karen's power grows even stronger. Her attack finally overpowers the robot's blast. The energy beam pierces through the machine, causing it to explode. The impact creates a huge smoke cloud, and all the remaining enemies are destroyed. With the robot invasion over, all the boys who lost their parts miraculously recover them. Finally, Karen ends her transformation and floats down to the ground with Kashiwagi. Their mission is complete. Sod congratulates them for stopping the robots, even though they did it in an unexpected way. He then disappears again. As Kashiwagi smiles at Karen, she suddenly remembers a childhood memory they shared. She hesitates, then tries to say something to him. However, before she can speak, a small feather falls onto her head. Kashiwagi reaches out to remove it, but Karen, embarrassed, quickly says she will do it herself. Blushing, she runs away. One night, Kashiwagi walks on the beach with a mysterious girl who looks like Asumisawa. They watch the stars together. She asks if he finds this boring, but Kashiwagi says he enjoys it. She then wishes they could be together forever. Kashiwagi does not know how to answer but tells her to go home before her father worries. In the present, Lovern tries to wake Kashiwagi with an alarm, but he won't wake up. Irina and Amelia also try, but nothing works. Finally, Amelia jumps on his bed, making him get up. Irina reminds him that everyone is waiting. Kashiwagi does not remember why, and Amelia says if he doesn't hurry, she will leave without him. Outside, the group prepares for a trip to Yoshio's family's private beach. The girls are excited, especially Irina, since she's never seen the sea before. Karen and Amelia try to scare her by talking about sea monsters and mermaids. They arrive at Yoshio's luxurious beach house. The girls wonder if they should enjoy the trip while Yoshio is injured as he got hit by a car previously. Monfa laughs, saying he only has a few broken bones, which is nothing serious. Karen disagrees. Monfa stays on the sand while Amelia and Karen play in the water. Irina is afraid and holds on to Kashiwagi. He tells her she will be safe as long as she stays near the shore. She feels reassured and joins the others. Monfa watches from the shade and comments on how young they all are. Kashiwagi tells her that she is also young, but Monfa insists she should treat her with respect. She tries to make him call her by her first name, Bai, but doesn't work. The girls suddenly attack them with water guns, thinking they are flirting. Karen sprays Monfa, and Monfa responds by using her special suit. This leads to a fun water fight. Later, Monfa leaves to get a drink, and Karen teases her about getting ace spots. Monfa chases her, but then Karen finds a sign that says swimsuits are not allowed on this beach. The girls think Yoshio planned this, so they remove their swimsuits, but Kashiwagi is forced to wear a hot full-face mask. They decide to play blind man's bluff, choosing Kashiwagi to be it. He finds Irina hiding and chases her. She gets scared and hits him. As punishment, they bury Kashiwagi in the sand up to his head and place a watermelon next to him. Monfa, blindfolded, tries to hit the watermelon with a stick. She accidentally swings too hard, creating a shockwave that sends everyone flying and breaks Kashiwagi's mask. The girls then blindfold and tie him up as another punishment. As the sun sets, they all say they had a great time and wish they could stay like this forever. Kashiwagi agrees, but when he looks back, the girls have vanished. He searches everywhere, calling their names, but there's no trace of them. Thinking they went back to the house, he checks inside, but it is empty. Suddenly, Asumisawa appears. Kashiwagi tells her the others have disappeared, but then he realizes he can't remember who they are. Asumisawa starts preparing dinner. Kashiwagi offers to help, and she tells him where to find plates, even though she has never been to this house before. Kashiwagi finds this strange. While setting the table, he drops a plate, and Asumisawa gets very worried. As they pick up the pieces, their hands touch, and they both become flustered. Yoshio calls Kashiwagi's phone, but Asumisawa quickly hangs up. Later, she tries to light a fire for the barbecue but fails. Kashiwagi helps while Asumisawa prepares meat. She says she bought high-quality meat today. Yoshio calls again, and she suddenly stabs Kashiwagi's phone and throws it away. Kashiwagi hears something strange, but Asumisawa says it's just his imagination. During dinner, Asumisawa mentions she used finely chopped celery, which Kashiwagi hates. He is surprised because he never told her that, but she avoids the question. She then suggests he go for a walk. She takes Kashiwagi to a beautiful glowing cherry tree by a lake. He is amazed and asks why it is blooming at this time of year. Asumisawa confesses that she has loved him for a long time and asks him to stay with her forever. Kashiwagi, however, asks where the others are. She refuses to answer and insists they should be together. She pushes him down, saying she knows how to make him happy. Calls out their names. Asumisawa's glasses break and flower petals swirl around them. She disappears and Kashiwagi finds himself with the girl from the past, Aizawa. They have the same conversation as before, but this time, Ai tells him it is impossible to be together forever. The scene changes. The cherry tree has lost its flowers, and Ai tells Kashiwagi to never return to this place. She runs away. As he tries to follow, error messages appear in the sky, and a virtual hole opens beneath him, making him disappear. The scene then shifts to a new day, and we see Kashiwagi still asleep. Lovren tries to wake him up after snoozing the alarm several times. When he finally wakes up, he wonders why no one has woken him up that day. He assumes that the girls have already left for class without him. Since it's getting late, he grabs a banana and rushes out of the house. At that moment, his mother steps out of her room, but he doesn't notice her. He also doesn't realize that his house looks like it did in the past. His mother had actually called him before leaving, but he didn't hear her. Many things seem different, but Kashiwagi doesn't pay much attention to them. When he arrives at class, he is surprised to see a boy sitting in his seat. Kashiwagi tells the boy that it's his spot, but the student looks confused and says that it's actually his own seat. Kashiwagi, still not understanding what is going on, starts asking about Amelia, Monfa, Karen, Asumisawa, and Arena. The other boy looks at him strangely and laughs, thinking Kashiwagi is joking. He tells him that summer is over and asks if he's in the wrong class. Kashiwagi, now scared, runs out of the classroom. As he rushes down the hall, he bumps into two students. One of them asks if he is the boy who has been absent from school for a long time. Kashiwagi doesn't understand what is happening. He searches for someone who can help him and soon finds a woman. She asks him what's wrong and checks if he is okay. But Kashiwagi, feeling anxious, doesn't recognize her and asks who she is. Instead of answering, the woman pulls up a screen in front of her face and the image of his friend Yoshio appears. She then asks if Kashiwagi has forgotten who he is. This time, Kashiwagi calls her Yoshio. The woman then takes Kashiwagi into a vehicle and tells him that he will be able to see the others soon. But first, they have to go somewhere. After a short ride, they arrive at a large building that looks like a laboratory. The place is full of scientists and doctors. The woman avoids security and takes Kashiwagi deeper into the facility, leading him to a room with advanced technology. Inside, she asks him to sit in a robotic chair. As she analyzes his brain waves, she says that they look normal. Kashiwagi, still confused, asks where the girls are. The woman doesn't answer right away. Instead, she tells him her full name, Yoshino Feynman, and asks him to wait. Since he doesn't remember her, she shows him a news report about an experiment called Aoi. Kashiwagi suddenly recalls a memory of watching the same news report one morning, feeling sad. The report explains that the experiment involves spending a virtual life with artificial intelligence characters, including eating bananas. Yoshino then shows Kashiwagi an object he had received when he was chosen for the experiment. She asks if he recognizes it. Kashiwagi only remembers that she gave it to him when the test began, but he doesn't recall its purpose. Seeing that he is struggling to remember, Yoshino pulls up a digital map of his house. Kashiwagi is shocked and asks what is happening. Yoshino explains that for the past few months, he has been living inside a simulation. Everything around him, including his house, school, and friends, was created using his own memories. Kashiwagi is overwhelmed and demands to know where the girls are. Yoshino reveals that the girls were not real people. They were artificial intelligences. Kashiwagi laughs, saying that this is impossible. He insists that they had feelings and he could touch and smell them. But Yoshino explains that it was all part of a highly advanced system that has not yet been made public. Kashiwagi argues that he lived with them for months, but Yoshino tells him that in reality, only one real day has passed. Trying to calm him down, Yoshino offers him something to drink, but she struggles with the coffee machine. While she tries to fix it, she explains the role of artificial intelligence in modern society. She tells Kashiwagi that AI was first created to do tasks more efficiently than humans. Over time, researchers developed AI that could mimic human behavior. However, these early AIs did not understand emotions. Now scientists are working on creating AIs that can truly understand and experience human feelings. Yoshino then reveals that Kashiwagi was chosen for an experiment meant to teach artificial intelligence about romance. Scientists from all over the world created the girls in the simulation to study human emotions and relationships. She explains that at first the girls acted strangely because they did not understand love. But over time, they formed emotional connections with Kashiwagi. The experiment was a huge success. However, everything changed when Kashiwagi's access to the virtual world was suddenly cut off during their trip to the beach. Hearing all this, Kashiwagi becomes furious. He grabs Yoshino by the clothes and yells that none of this can be true. Yoshino tells him to accept reality. At that moment, the door to the room opens, and a woman named Ubukata enters. She is looking for Yoshino and asks if Kashiwagi is part of the test project. Yoshino confirms this. Ubukata looks worried and tells her that this is a serious issue. She warns that their boss must not find out. Just then, the boss enters and demands to know what's happening. Yoshino and Ubukata stand in front of Kashiwagi, trying to hide him. The boss yells at Yoshino, telling her that she is off duty and awaiting punishment. He fires her on the spot and orders her to leave. Once they are outside, Yoshino sighs and says that Kashiwagi should leave as well. As Kashiwagi stands there, lost in thought, Yoshino explains that the 4 artificial intelligences were disconnected just like him. Scientists believe that Kashiwagi himself may have caused the problem. She also suspects that Kashiwagi was not chosen randomly for the experiment. Instead, she believes that the A's deliberately selected him. Ubukata Yubukata refuses to get involved any further and stays behind. Meanwhile, Yoshino invites Kashiwagi to a shopping center for a drink. There, she asks if he has ever heard of deep learning. Kashiwagi reacts to the term, and Yoshino continues explaining. She tells him that while Ai can learn to be more human-like through training, there is a more reliable method, copying a human's mind. This process requires a huge amount of data, and for a long time, scientists thought it was impossible. However, 3 years ago, a researcher denied this idea. He developed a full-brain simulation system, using his own mind-uploading technology to create an AI with artificial consciousness. That AI grew quickly and evolved into all the ones Kashiwagi knew, including the girls. Finally, Yoshino reveals that the mother of this technology was an artificial intelligence named A. Kashiwagi looks shocked. Yoshino then tells him about a researcher who had a daughter named A. Though the man was always busy with work, he loved his daughter dearly. She was Kashiwagi's childhood friend. One day, the researcher left his job to focus on his own research. Eventually, he succeeded in completing his experiment, but soon after, Ai became sick. Kashiwagi remembers visiting Ai in the hospital, bringing her gifts. He recalls meeting her father, who looked at him with sadness because of Ai's illness. In a desperate attempt to save her, the doctor copied Ai's memories into an artificial intelligence. Shortly after, Ai passed away. He remembers Yoshino's words and the truth about Ai. The memories of his childhood friend flood his mind as he stands in front of her grave, crying. At the same time, the city gets full of problems. The traffic lights keep changing and vehicles crash. Suddenly, Asumisawa's face appears on all the screens in the city. Yoshino sees this and gets scared. He wonders if the face on the screen is the researcher's daughter, who passed away. The next morning, Kashiwagi arrives home. His mother greets him and asks if he wants breakfast. While he eats a banana, the news reports that the artificial intelligence in a big program has stopped working. The reporter says that most of the network is failing but is slowly recovering. The problem comes from an interruption in the company's system, so some issues will continue. After finishing his banana, Kashiwagi says goodbye to his mother and goes to his room. At the company, workers try to fix a problem with their satellite. The satellite does not respond to their commands and blocks their access. They realize that artificial intelligence has taken control. Some workers worry that this is the beginning of something big and dangerous. Their boss gets angry at them. Then, Yumukata speaks up. She suggests asking Dr. Yoshio for help, but the boss yells at her to stop talking about that name. The workers suggests destroying the satellite, but the boss refuses. He says they spent too much money on it. Yumukata interrupts again and shows him strange signals that have been coming in since last night. She explains that these signals come at regular intervals. The boss ignores her and orders her to fix the problem. Later, Yumukata contacts Yoshino. She tells him she is trying to understand the signals they are receiving. Meanwhile, Kashiwagi's mother calls him. She tells him that Yoshino has come to visit. Kashiwagi and Yoshino go up to his room. Kashiwagi asks why she came so suddenly. Yoshino says that she called him many times before. She then asks how he is doing. Kashiwagi is surprised because he thinks Yoshino is not the type to care about others. Yoshino asks what he thinks of her. Before he can answer, she tells him that she has a favor to ask. She wants Kashiwagi to return to the virtual world. She explains that she has a problem and needs his help. Kashiwagi is hurt by this request. He is still trying to accept reality. He does not want to believe that everything he experienced was a lie. Yoshino then explains that A's consciousness split into the girls Kashiwagi met in the simulation. Asumisawa was the most similar to Ai. Yoshino believes that A's buried consciousness inside Asumisawa woke up. When the two consciousnesses coexisted, it affected Asumisawa's mind, making her go out of control. Yoshino says that Ai is now connected to the satellite, just like the other artificial consciousnesses. She is interfering with the network. All the past failures in the system happened because of her. Then, Yoshino reveals something shocking. Kashiwagi is the only person who can access the network. The system blocks all other external connections. They also receive a message. After decoding it, the message said she wants to see him. Ai is calling for Kashiwagi. At that moment, Loverin starts jumping around the room. Then light comes from her eyes and projects images of the girls. Kashiwagi hears their voices and sees their blurry silhouettes. The girls try to appear clearly, but at first, they are only polygonal shapes. Finally, they fix the issue and everyone is happy. They all thought they would never meet again. Irina tells Kashiwagi that Amelia felt something strange in the simulation before disappearing. Karen helped them hide using magic. Amelia and Karen start arguing about who did a better job. They also argue about their chest sizes. Monfa stops their fight. Then Amelia asks Kashiwagi to find Asumisawa and save her. She says that Asumisawa did not want to do any of this. The girls explain that Ai had emotions she could not control. Even though they were friends, she never told them anything. Karen feels hurt that Asumisawa went so far without asking for help. Arima is sad because she did not notice Asumisawa's problems earlier. Yoshino realizes that Asumisawa's breakdown might have started even before A's consciousness woke up. Yoshino asks the girls what changed in the simulation. The girls tease her, saying she should try to understand humans better. Suddenly, Yoshino gets a call from Yubukata. She warns that the company is about to activate a program that will disconnect the girls. At that moment, moment, Lovren starts to break down and the girls slowly disappear. Before they vanish, they ask Kashiwagi to return to the virtual world and save Isumisawa. When the connection is lost, Yoshino and Kashiwagi look outside. The city is in chaos. Yoshino asks Kashiwagi to come with her. She explains that the company wants to delete the program and destroy the satellite. She knows a secret entrance to the satellite. If they do not stop the company, many people's lives will be affected. Kashiwagi does not respond. Yoshino apologizes, gathers her equipment, and leaves to fix the problem alone. Kashiwagi sits on his bed and remembers something from his past. He and I once went to buy a cake for her late mother's birthday. At home, he asked I if she ever felt lonely without her mother. I said it happened a long time ago. Kashiwagi then asked if she would like to see her mother one more time. I said yes. She wanted to thank her mother for giving birth to her. When she saw Kashiwagi looking serious, I smiled and invited him to eat cake with her. Back in the present, Kashiwagi remembers A's words. He decides to help Yoshino. He rushes outside and joins her. They get into their vehicle and drive to a house near the sea. This is A's father's old laboratory. Yoshino tells Kashiwagi that she has been taking care of the place since he abandoned it. Inside, there are drawings stuck to the walls. Kashiwagi notices that A's father never let even I enter the lab. He asks Yoshino if she knew I before the experiment. Yoshino says she only met I after the system failure. Then, she remembers something. Isumisawa's artificial intelligence once told the doctor that she wanted to fall in love. She wanted to know what it felt like. Yoshino now understands everything. I fell in love with Kashiwagi. That is why the system is breaking down. The doctor prepares Kashiwagi to enter the simulation again. This time, he will not forget the real world. Before activating the connection, Yoshino warns him to be careful. She asks him to save Isumisawa and everyone else. Then Kashiwagi connects to the network. Next, we see Kashiwagi entering the virtual world. As soon as he arrives, he sees Lovren. However, it turns out that Yoshino is controlling Lovren. Kashiwagi looks ahead and notices a huge protective barrier. This barrier prevents others from entering that area. Kashiwagi asks how he can pass through it. The petals transform into a butterfly. The butterfly guides him to a part of the barrier that is unblocked. Kashiwagi touches a screen and the barrier disappears. Behind it, a park appears. The same park where he had been before. At that moment, Yoshino gets tired of controlling Lovren. She decides to transform into Yoshio. Kashiwagi and Yoshio start arguing. They realize that they are not wearing any clothes. Suddenly, cleaning robots and attack dogs appear. These are the same ones that attacked the girls before. Kashiwagi and Yoshio run away. The two friends keep running until they reach a fountain. Kashiwagi hears a girl's voice calling him from the water. Without thinking, he grabs Yoshio and jumps into the fountain. They pass through the water and exit through a door. On the other side, they find all the girls waiting. However, when the girls see that Kashiwagi and Yoshio have no clothes, they hit them and leave them on the floor. After this, Yoshio explains that he has been controlling many things in different ways. Karen is confused and asks what he means. Suddenly, Yoshio starts trembling. Then he vomits an egg. From the egg, Sod appears, Karen's magical pet. Afterward, Monfa grabs Kashiwagi. She happily tells him that she missed him. But before Kashiwagi can respond, all the other girls rush forward and hug him. Once everything calms down, Kashiwagi explains the situation to the girls. However, they already know part of what is happening. The problem is that A's consciousness does not want to meet Kashiwagi. Instead, Isumisawa does. This is causing many complications. They also have another big problem. Cavendish is using an elimination program to fix the system error. Sod explains that if this program hits them, they will disappear forever. Meanwhile, Amelia shows Kashiwagi where Isumisawa is. She is at the center of the virtual world, hidden behind a very strong protection system. Kashiwagi asks if the only way to reach her is to pass through the barrier, but Amelia says that there is a secret path. After this, the group leaves the room. They appear inside a building where Monfa once fought Colonel Thunder. They run through the corridors, looking for an exit. Suddenly, they come face to face with enemies. However, the enemies are powered off. Sod mocks them, and the enemies reactivate. Immediately, Monfa puts on her combat suit. The other girls also transform. Even Arena and Amelia reveal their special abilities. Together, they defeat the enemies with powerful attacks. But then, one of the enemies activates a bomb. Kashiwagi jumps to protect Sod. Both of them fall through a glass window and land in another room. In this new room, Kashiwagi asks Sod if the girls were programmed to meet him and fall in love with him. Sod answers yes. However, he adds that the artificial intelligences develop real emotions after spending time with Kashiwagi. At that moment, Monfa arrives. She overhears the conversation. Kashiwagi sees her and runs toward her. Suddenly, they hear Arena scream. Everyone runs out to help her. It has transformed the enemies, making them even stronger. The group fights against them once again. However, one of the enemies catches Sod and deletes him from the simulation. The group has no choice but to run away. They rush through a large door in one of the hallways. On the other side, they find themselves in a strange church. The church has colorful glass windows. A cherry blossom is drawn on one of the windows. But their peace does not last long. Suddenly, Colonel Thunder appears, followed by the extermination program. The girls manage to open the path toward A's location. Kashiwagi and the others get ready to leave. However, Monfa decides to stay behind and fight the enemies alone. The others pass through the digital door. Kashiwagi and Monfa remain in the church for a little longer. There, Monfa makes a confession. She tells Kashiwagi that she never understood love before she met him. She remembers that Kashiwagi once protected A from bad kids. Despite everything, Monfa realizes that her feelings are not just A's memories, they are truly her own. Monfa thanks Kashiwagi for protecting her in the past. She says that this time it's her turn to protect him. Kashiwagi tries to convince her to come with him, but Monfa refuses. She says that she will finish this battle and then catch up with him. At that moment, Monfa kisses Kashiwagi. She asks him to go ahead. She also confesses that she wished he had used her real name. Then Monfa pushes Kashiwagi through the exit. As he falls, he grabs one of her hair ribbons. Just then, we see A's memory. In the past, some kids bullied A for telling the teacher about their mischief. Kashiwagi appeared and protected her. However, he got badly injured in the fight. I took him home and treated his wounds. She thanked him for defending her. Now in the present, Kashiwagi finally shouts Monfa's real name, and then he disappears through the door, holding her ribbon. Once Kashiwagi crosses to the other side, Monfa destroys the entrance. She prepares to fight the program. She thanks Kashiwagi for teaching her how to love. But shortly after, the enemies overwhelm Monfa. She sacrifices herself to save Kashiwagi. At the same time, the hair ribbon in Kashiwagi's hand disappears. In the doctor's lab, Yoshino attempts to connect to the virtual world again, but she fails. Frustrated, she watches the screen trying to figure out a way in. Suddenly, there's a loud crash outside. Yubikata has arrived, but she has crashed her vehicle. She steps out, apologizing for her poor driving skills. Yoshino takes the opportunity to tease her, reminding her that she once said she wouldn't need her help. Despite their banter, they quickly move toward where Kashiwagi is connected. As they reach the screens, they see the devastating news. Monfa has been eliminated. Yoshino, shocked, turns to Yubikata and asks for her help. Meanwhile, inside the virtual world, Kashiwagi and his group struggle with the loss of Monfa. Karin, unable to hold back her emotions, finally breaks down in tears. Kashiwagi stands in front of her and tells her to keep moving forward. However, Karin calls him insensitive, pointing out that Monfa just sacrificed herself. But Kashiwagi reminds her that Monfa wanted them to continue. As he speaks, his own tears begin to fall. Even though they are grieving, they move into the next room. This time, they find themselves in a school. Suddenly, a robot appears and shoots at them, shattering a window. The attack severely injures Kashiwagi, forcing the group to take refuge in a classroom. Inside, Arina heals Kashiwagi. She warns him that if he continues getting hurt, it will also affect him in the real world. Kashiwagi, however, worries more about the girls. Even though they are artificial intelligences, he doesn't want them to be harmed. He asks them to be extra careful. While he recovers, Amelia searches for the next exit. The girls take this time to ask Kashiwagi about the real academy. He hesitates, but then explains that he hasn't attended classes for months. After A's death, he didn't have the courage to make friends. Just then, Amelia finds the way forward. The group moves up the stairs, but suddenly, they reach a dead end. As they look down, they see the stairs disappearing behind them. At that moment, butterflies appear. Kashiwagi recognizes them as the same ones that guided him when he first entered the virtual world. Trusting them, he follows them through an invisible wall. The girls follow after him, reaching the other side safely. However, danger is still present. They step outside and find themselves in a strange landscape. Pieces of the city float in the air with buildings, cars, and other objects are completely out of place. Even worse, countless robots are flying around. Seeing the overwhelming number of enemies, Karin decides to fight them as a magical girl. However, Kashiwagi stops her, saying it's too dangerous. Arina steps forward and joins Karin. Both girls tell Amelia to take Kashiwagi and continue guiding him. They promise that they will catch up later. With that, Arina and Karin take to the sky. They attack the robots with their magic powers, allowing Amelia and Kashiwagi to escape through the next door. Once the two are gone, Karin and Arina destroy the entrance to the path, preventing the enemies from following. After a brief moment of rest, Karin and Arina realize something. They both want to sacrifice themselves for Kashiwagi. Without hesitation, they launch themselves into battle against all the enemies. Meanwhile, Amelia and Kashiwagi reach a library. Inside, they find an elevator and take it. During the ride, Amelia confesses something. She tells Kashiwagi that when she said she hated herself, it wasn't true. She recalls a memory from the past. I once found a lost puppy and wanted to care for it. A's father believed she would be heartbroken when they returned the dog, but I insisted. After a month, the owner appeared. I was happy to return the lost puppy, but she couldn't stop crying. At that moment, Kashiwagi told her that she had done a wonderful thing. Amelia confesses that this was the moment she realized she was in love with Kashiwagi. It was when her true self was born. Back with Arina and Karin, both are exhausted. They hide from the robots for a moment. Arina asks Karin when she realized she loved Kashiwagi. Karin recalls her memory from childhood. She and I were exercising in the park, but I struggled. Kashiwagi stayed with her, encouraging her until nightfall. On her last attempt, she succeeded and Kashiwagi cheered for her. Karin then asks Arina the same question. Arina remembers her childhood birthday. Her father was working, leaving her alone. Feeling abandoned, she ran away from home and hid in a park during the rain. That's when Kashiwagi appeared with an umbrella. He told her that her father had asked about her and that she should go back home. Seeing that she was cold, Kashiwagi held her close, sharing his warmth. Now, both girls understand that their feelings are real. With newfound determination, they decide to use their last strength to help Kashiwagi. They attract all the robots, fighting them off to buy time. Amelia, sensing something is wrong, grows anxious. She realizes that something terrible has happened to Arina and and Karen. Just then, she gives Kashiwagi an object, the same one she had asked him to study. She tells him that she treasures every moment they have shared, both happy and sad. Suddenly, a robot that had been chasing Arena and Karen appears. Kashiwagi asks what's happening, but Amelia removes her headphones. For the first time, Kashiwagi can hear the voices of Karen and Arena as they fight. Karen tells Kashiwagi to never stop smiling because she loves his smile. She wants him to treasure every moment in the real world. With that, she runs out of energy and sacrifices herself. Arena, too, sends a final message. She tells Kashiwagi to live his life the way he taught her. She also reminds him of a forgotten gift, one that will allow her to be reborn. With her final words, she assures him that she trusts him. Then she, too, sacrifices herself. Once the girls disappear, Amelia puts her headphones back on. She tells Kashiwagi that everyone's wish is for him to live. She kisses him on the cheek and creates a hole with her book. Kashiwagi takes the path forward while Amelia disappears. Kashiwagi wakes up near the sea, surrounded by tall trees. As he walks towards the shore, he sees Isumisawa standing there. She looks at him and apologizes, but he tells her that he is happy to see her safe. Then he asks where Ai is. Isumisawa touches her heart, signaling that Ai is inside her. Kashiwagi, filled with emotions, says he wants to see Ai. Isumisawa gently pulls him closer to her chest, and suddenly he enters Ai's memories. In the memory, Kashiwagi is sitting on some stairs waiting for Ai. She arrives soon and he tells her he is worried about the future. Ai smiles and reassures him, saying they will always be together. Ai laughs and asks him to go shopping with her. At first he refuses, but in the end he agrees. While walking, they pass a store and Ai sees a beautiful pendant. Kashiwagi notices her interest and asks if she wants to buy it. Ai sighs and says she does not have enough money. Kashiwagi secretly buys it for her. Later he gives her a small gift bag. When Ai opens it and sees the pendant, her eyes sparkle with happiness. She asks Kashiwagi to help her put it on. After wearing it, she asks if it looks good on her. Kashiwagi smiles and tells her she looks very pretty. Ai suddenly feels dizzy and Kashiwagi quickly holds her. She tells him it is nothing serious and that she is fine. That night, Ai feels dizzy again. Her father returns home from work and she greets him with a smile. She tries to prepare dinner, but she collapses. Her father panics and rushes her to the hospital. There, the doctor gives them terrible news. Ai is very sick and there is no cure. She might not live until spring. Ai's father is furious, but Ai tries to calm him down, saying she will not give up. Later, Ai rests in her hospital bed when she hears someone running in the hallway. Suddenly, Kashiwagi bursts into the room. He asks how she is and Ai laughs. Kashiwagi pulls out a bunch of bananas from his bag and tells her to eat a lot to recover. Ai smiles and says she is feeling better. She then looks out the window and asks Kashiwagi if they can go see the cherry blossoms when spring comes. Kashiwagi nods and promises that they will go together. Sometime later, Ai and Kashiwagi meet outside the hospital. Ai gives him a small red-wrapped gift. Kashiwagi thanks her. Ai tells him she hopes they can start high school together. Suddenly, it starts snowing. Kashiwagi notices that Ai is cold, so he wraps his scarf around her. Together, they watch the snowfall. One day, she receives a call from Kashiwagi, who says he will come visit after school. Ai looks at her reflection and sees the illness has changed her appearance. She quickly puts on makeup to hide the marks on her face. When Kashiwagi arrives, they talk for a while. He offers to take her outside for fresh air, but Ai refuses. Before he leaves, she tells him there is no need for him to visit often because he needs to focus on his exams. Kashiwagi is worried, but Ai reassures him. Once he leaves, Ai cannot stop her tears. As spring gets closer, Ai struggles to breathe without a machine. She watches a video of herself and Kashiwagi under the cherry blossoms. She sends him a message saying she misses him and wants to see the cherry blossoms together. But then, she apologizes to herself and deletes the message. Back in the present, Kashiwagi watches all of Ai's memories and cries. Isumisawa points to a door and says Ai is behind it. Kashiwagi thanks her for everything and steps toward the door. Isumisawa smiles and thanks him for showing her both sadness and happiness. She says he changed her world. Kashiwagi thanks her as well and opens the door. On the other side, Kashiwagi finds himself in a beautiful night sky with a large cherry tree. Under the tree, Ai is waiting. Kashiwagi runs to her and hugs her tightly. Ai tells him to forget about her and move on, but Kashiwagi refuses. He tells her that he has always cherished their memories. Ai insists that he should be happy, but Kashiwagi says they both made mistakes. He shouldn't have avoided reality and she shouldn't have told him to stop visiting. He tells her that thanks to Amelia, Arena, Monfa, and Karen, he has learned to treasure every moment. Finally, he confesses that he has always loved her. Ai cries and admits that she also loved him. Suddenly, the night sky shatters and sunlight shines through. They share a kiss under the cherry tree. Ai tells Kashiwagi that he has grown taller. He laughs and says it is normal since 2 years have passed. She returns the pendant to him and says she is happy to have fulfilled his dream. Then she hugs him one last time before disappearing. Kashiwagi wakes up on the seashore with Isumisawa standing nearby. Butterflies of different colors appear, representing the girls who helped him. They all merge together and a bright light surrounds Kashiwagi. Back in the real world, Yoshino welcomes him back. Suddenly, Nobukata tells them to look outside. Pieces of the satellite are falling from the sky. They sigh, saying the company is finished. Yoshino then turns to Kashiwagi and tells him to put on some underwear since he had to remove them to monitor his health. Sometime later, Kashiwagi moves into a new apartment. At the entrance, he finds 4 unopened boxes. When he approaches one, Amelia suddenly pops out and hugs him. The other boxes open, and the girls appear, happily hugging him. They reveal that they have gotten physical bodies thanks to Ai and Yoshino. Now they can stay with Kashiwagi forever. Amelia, however, is not pleased. She complains that her body should have had a bigger chest. Meanwhile, Yubikata and Yoshino discuss the surprise they gave Kashiwagi. Yubikata then asks if it was okay to send only 4 boxes. Yoshino replies that this time she must make the choice. Just then, Asumisawa walks toward Kashiwagi's apartment. She stands in front of the door, gathers her courage, and rings the bell. Kashiwagi smiles and reflects on how the spring breeze has brought him many encounters, ones he will never forget.